Hello, welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog, and today I was going to start by saying this is just a quick video because I've got a stinking cold. I don't feel very well. I feel really dizzy actually. I'm kind of, at the moment, I'm floating, in my head, and I'm not literally floating. But I don't sound as bad as I did literally 5 minutes ago. I was talking to my son and I sounded like I was doing a Green Arrow impression. I might as well have been saying to him, "You have failed this city." But I don't know, I must have coughed or something on the way down the stairs. I sound relatively normal, probably a bit quieter, but I said yesterday I thought it was hay fever. It's not hay fever. I've taken so much vitamin C today, drank so much orange juice, I felt moderately normal for a little bit. Lots of nasal spray and stuff, but oh man, I feel rough. I've not got much to go on really. I spent last night finishing Weeds, the season 8 finale I've watched now. I'm not going to do any spoilers because I know like Kevin and Anna, for example, haven't seen it, and lots of people out there won't have seen it. I did want to sort of just talk about it briefly in that 8 years is a long time to do a programme, and whilst I enjoyed watching it right up to the final scenes and everything, I do feel like I could have finished it a bit earlier. It feels like they must have just been extended. American programs are funny like that. I did a whole rant on my blog about how TV execs need to learn to know when to stop, need to learn to know when an idea is bad, know when to not twist and change stuff, you know. They always seem to take ideas and do it like, I moaned about when they do Batman or Superman films are more likely to be the issue, where they do a whole film where he hasn't got any powers. So Batman, the Justice League one, for example, Superman wasn't in it for an entire film. Why do a film about the Justice League without Superman? Why do a Superman program episode film where he has no powers? That's not Superman, that's Clark Kent, that's boring. Weeds felt a bit like they'd reached all the dramatic bits of the stories as they went, and then they were like, and this is what they do with the rest of their lives. And yeah, the episodes were entertaining. Yeah, there was some drama in them, but it really just felt like a season and a half of, yeah, so they did this for a bit, and then they went and did that for a bit, and then they did this for a bit, and then this happened, and then that happened, and then they did this, and then it skipped forward, and by the end of it, I was kind of like, right, considering where they were 15 episodes before, they'd gone a long way in 15 episodes. Like they'd have 3 or 4 week gaps between episodes even, at some point, and they weren't even the biggest gaps. And you'd be thinking, well, why not just not tell the story if that's what you're doing? Lots of people say online that it probably should have ended sooner. It makes me wonder whether Orange is the New Black will do the same, because that's already gone too far. It's already gone beyond where it needs to be. It feels like the way that ended, they're going to have to completely rebuild the show this next season whenever it comes out, which is usually June time, isn't it? But they just don't seem to know when to just pull the trigger and say we're done. I love it when shows do know. I'm trying to think, like Lost, people say went on a bit too long, but that knew when to pull the trigger. That resolved the story, it all made sense. Something like House didn't. House just kept going. They always seem to fall into the same traps. House and Scrubs did the same thing, where you could literally watch an episode and it would be paint by numbers. You'd know exactly what each character was going to do. They'd walk in, they'd do their thing, then the next person would walk in and do their thing. Someone would say something mean, someone would do something silly, and it was the exact, they must have just put silly scene, mean scene, resolution, you know, moral of the story, silly shock, cliffhanger, twist, bosh, job done. I'd love to have been involved in a series like that, just going, yeah, just, I'd have been there going, why don't we just not do the twist that we always do, or the cliffhanger that we always do, and do this instead? And maybe that wouldn't have been as successful, but it just irritates me that this end of Weeds was just like, let's see what happens with this character that people aren't that really bothered about, or let's find out what goes on with this bit, or let's make a really big deal out of this character even though they're probably not that big of a deal. Let's pull these people back from the past just so that we can say, oh look where they ended up. I don't know, I feel like they could have just, most programmes would have just written that up as a quick, like, oh, here's where they all finished afterwards. I mean, more shows should do that, that'd be awesome. I'd love it if they just did an update on Friends every few years and said, oh, you know, by the way, everyone, this is the canonical story, Ross and Rachel have done this, or whatever. Just release a written, quick thing that you read and go, oh, brilliant, I know where they are. It felt like if Weeds was Friends, we'd have seen, like they've all left the flat at the end of the last episode. We'd have seen 3 weeks later when Joey, what we saw Joey, I suppose, didn't we, as a TV series, but we'd have seen Monica and Chandler give birth, we'd have seen their kids' first day at school, we'd have seen like, but these would have all been episodes for the next season, and it would have been really like, well, you could have just ended it back there when they all left and it faded to black. And I don't know, I'm repeating what I'm saying really, it just seemed like they should have just knew when to end it. The UK seems to have the opposite issue. For those in America who are watching, the UK's TV shows are the opposite end of the spectrum. They'll say, right, this is amazing, these characters are, you know, will they, won't they, are they going to get together, are they going to get together, and then just before they get together they'll just cancel the programme and say, right, yeah, we're not airing any more episodes, we want you to decide whether it happens. And I guess that works in a way, because all the pessimistic people can be like, nah, they didn't get together, they ended up splitting up and never speaking again, and it was all an absolute train wreck. Or people can say, oh yeah, they had 100 kids and, you know, lived happily ever after. So I suppose that makes sense, but I kind of want the happy middle ground where it just ends and you're happy with how it ended. And well, I mean, stuff like Breaking Bad ended really satisfactorily. I'm trying to think what other programs ended, just they did whatever they needed to do. It felt like programs like Weeds should have had these big grand endings, and sometimes when they don't, it's a bit like, oh, okay. And that is a bit of, and it's not a spoiler, but it is a bit of a point. I guess it helps with expectations. If you know it's just gonna carry on, then you know that yeah, you're not gonna be like me. I was sat there thinking something's gonna happen, something's gonna happen, something's gonna happen. Nothing happened. I haven't got much else to go on. I don't know what else to watch at the moment. There's so many options. Our Happy looks really cool. It's about a guy, if you haven't heard of it, it's about a guy who is a cop. He gets hurt. I think he's a cop. He's a detective or something. He gets hurt, bangs his head. Now he's seeing this unicorn that is trying to help him solve a crime. The unicorn is the imaginary friend of a girl who's been kidnapped by some deranged lunatic. He's keeping her in a box somewhere, and the unicorn's helping the guy who hit his head to find the girl and solve the crime. So it's like they're buddy cops, but one's an imaginary unicorn and one's a mental psychopathic policeman who is probably on drugs or something. So that looks quite cool. I watched the first episode of Lost in Space. It was all right. My wife doesn't really know the original, so she's intrigued by it all, but I feel like it's just going to be lots of nods to the original. Look how we've done this in a darker way, which is wasted on us because we didn't grow up with it. I started watching Dear White People, which was actually really interesting. I wasn't sure what that was going to be about or like, but that's quite cool. I watched the first 3 episodes of that, I think it was. I like that it's from different perspectives and stuff like that. I'll probably crack on with that. I think it's got 2 seasons to it at the moment. But yeah, I'm looking for recommendations at this point because we've just come off the back of 8 seasons of the same programme. So I suppose I don't really want to jump into another 8-season arc. But I also don't want to just start watching loads of one-season wonders and end up this time next year having 8 shows to watch because they've brought them all back or whatever. That's going to be a bit of a headache. I need to watch Westworld season 2 as well, although again I feel like they made their point in season 1. I can't see what season 2 can really be about. I'm a bit confused. I guess I'll watch that at some point. I've got my normal stuff. I wrote a lot on my blog about Arrow, Flash, Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow. They're all coming to an end in the next week or so, so there will be a big gap in my weekly schedule. But then we're coming up to the World Cup, which will keep me nice and busy. I'm going to wrap it up there because that cough is killing my chest. I'm in so much pain. You can probably hear my voice getting more and more strained. I wasn't going to record. I'm glad I did because something came out in the end. We talked about TV. Give me some recommendations. Let me know your thoughts on Weeds and stuff like that. Have you watched the other programmes I mentioned? What's your favourite programme? I'd love to hear people's favourite programmes. I don't know what mine is at the moment. It was The Flash for ages because he's awesome, but then that's gone a bit weird. I always recommend people watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia because it's just so mean that it's great. But I don't know if that's my favourite. I just think it's so mean, it's hilarious. Rick and Morty is another very highly recommended series. But again, I don't know if it's my favourite. I bloody love Breaking Bad, goes without saying. I'll have to have a think about that and put an answer in the comments at some point later on because I genuinely don't know what my own favourite is, but I'd like to hear what yours is. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. Usual shtick. And thanks very much. I'll see you tomorrow.